Next up this morning, we have Anton Galenovich, PhD, and Sergei Longshov with the presentation, Decentralized Autonomous Organization, Integral Platform for Climate Initiatives.
Hello. Can everybody hear me? I'm not sure it's working.
This is clicker. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to continue the previous topic about the environmental risk, damages, and climate change, but from a bit different approach. And thanks to my colleagues that were speaking before us, we can, bypass the first slides. But the difference of the approach is that we consider the environmental damages, including climate change, as in fact a damage which is caused by human economic activity in a general sense. So more specifically, every deal, transaction, or contract has its collateral damage. And when you buy a gas or air ticket for your air travel, there is a collateral damage to the environment, to human health related to it. And in fact, in the nearest years, it has already become a business custom to assess the damage related to any sort of economic activity, transaction, deals in terms of carbon dioxide equivalent. It is a very convenient thing to evaluate environmental damage because it reflects not only climate change damage, but also combustion of fossil fuels, air pollution, energy efficiency, and that's why it's not only important, but very convenient thing to quantify the environmental damage. For example, a few years ago, there was a notorious study evaluating the damage related to indoor cannabis production in the United States, and the damage is, as you can see, the energy expenditures equal to $5 billion, 1% of electricity consumed in the US, and 1 kilogram of indoor cannabis production equals to 4.6 tons of CO2. And the recommendation was to legalize marijuana because outdoor production would eliminate the need for indoor production. So that's the basic scheme that we're talking about. There are three principal participants of the model: the seller, the buyer of goods and services, and there is a mitigation outcome provider. And the mitigation should be equal or greater than the collateral damage produced by the deal between buyer and the seller. And once these three participants agree on the amount of damage and on the price for mitigation outcome, then in the ideal world, the problem would be settled and solved. But in real world, it's far more complicated because there should be someone who evaluates, assesses what the collateral damage is, and there always is a person or an entity who wants to be in charge and tell the buyer, the seller, and offset provider what should be settled, what shouldn't be settled, how the damage should be assessed, and everything. There is a regulator who wants to be in charge. And that's why, although this market for mitigation, for example, of climate change damages is is tremendous, and it's, at maturity it will be at least $10 trillion. And, but it is fragmented into pieces, and numerous barriers prevent from, fungibility of the instruments. There are dozens of climate mitigation programs, and new programs appear, and units and instruments, carbon units, and I guess that one of the examples was a previous presentation that a new, very interesting program and a new carbon unit is proposed. But basically, they all operate with one and the same unit, one and the same asset, 1 ton of carbon dioxide emissions or 1 ton of carbon dioxide reduction absorption. But they are not integrated. And the regulators really, choose and select who can assess the damage, who can participate in the market. And our initial target was and still is to provide an opportunity to overcome the barriers, external barriers between those dozens of markets and systems and registries, and to internal barriers which do not let anyone who would want to participate really participate in it. So that's why we've created a platform that allows anyone or any existing or new mitigation program to launch its program on blockchain and to, cooperate, integrate to the extent they want to. They might be fully independent, or they would want to merge the markets, or they would want to have a unified token, a unit. But any of those dozens of markets, carbon programs or instruments, carbon compliance units may enter this blockchain, and anyone can actually right now go and launch his own mitigation program. So what we have achieved for the moment, we have, transferred the units from a conventional registry to the blockchain and performed pilot transactions. And we have also performed a issuance of environmental units of carbon credits bypassing a conventional registry directed to blockchain, which is not easy because in a real world, well, you still have to, to have a very reliable auditor. In our case, it was KPMG, to verify, assure that those reductions are real and comply with the rules. So actually, right now, you can enter the decentralized application to trade or to retire, to offset the carbon footprint or launch your own program. In fact, as cryptocurrencies also have quite a significant carbon footprint. And for example, the Bitcoin network related carbon emissions are equal to those of emissions of Cyprus, and Ethereum network are smaller. Emissions are smaller, but still they equal to the annual emissions of Moldova. So it's pretty easy to imagine that there is there might be a token proposed to offset the exact amount of emissions related to 1 Bitcoin or to 1 Ether. We have a very vast, development plans, and developing the smart contracts and everything. But for the moment, we might say that the proposal of a high-quality assured environmental units is already provided at the platform. Now that we are working on the demand As I've described, the problems related with regulators, registries, opposition to a new technology that would basically deprive the regulators of much of their authority and would probably kill the traditional registries, so that doesn't go easy. And one very important thing is to, in a strategic perspective, to eliminate the need for really physical auditor verifiers participating in this process, and substituting it by Internet of Things algorithms plus a validation by the network. And from this point, I'd probably like Sergey to take over.
Good day, my name is Sergey Lenshakov. I'm research team leader at Aerolab and DAO architecture in IPCI project. My part of presentation will be about how we can prepare Mars for DEVCON3. As you know, Mars today is not a good place for humans. It's a very cold place and atmosphere is not friendly for our breath. And if we resolve issue with logistics, with the SpaceX or other space program, next question will be, can we make Mars a little bit comfortable for DEVCON3? And it will be a surprise for you, but Paris Climate Agreement can help us. Because if you try find some abstract or executive summary about Paris Climate Agreement, you will find main task of Paris Climate Agreement. Main task is keeping a global temperature rise below 2 degrees Celsius. And it means the Paris Climate Agreement is the first planetary terraforming experiment based on economical game. My main work is research capability of using human-to-machine systems. And the last 3 years we're working on robot economies concept. We want to build first planetary supply chain with direct economical communication between humans and machines. But Paris Agreement today is not a human-to-machine system, it's a human-to-human system with strong reputation requirements. And these requirements for me is ridiculous because we cannot do planetary experiment with this requirement. But if we shift Paris Climate Agreement on Ethereum network, Paris Climate Agreement can be human-to-machine system. And look at the screen. I will try to explain how it can be work. We have manufacturers around the world who want to be involved in Paris Climate Agreement. At the same time, we build smart cities around the world. And these smart cities have many types of different sensors what can collect data about carbon footprint around manufacturers. Smart cities can send annual reports to Ethereum network. We can install additional package on Ethereum network validators, additional package with carbon credit emission algorithm. And after that, Ethereum network can issue carbon credits. Green humans can buy these credits, and our collected funds can be spread between green economy manufacturers, smart cities who collect data, and Ethereum network validators who involved in this process. And if it will be work, we just can change terraforming task from Paris Climate Agreement to prepare Mars to DEVCON3 with the same scheme is the same software. So today we have a smart contract package for carbon credit market tested with real participants. We built a digitalized application for human-to-human communication, and My team, AeroUp team, now try to build first carbon footprint sensors network with Ethereum network validators based on our area distributive. In the next year, we will show first algorithm for carbon credit issues based on Ethereum network, and we want to build first service for reducing your carbon footprint only with carbon credit based on Ethereum network. Here you can find more information about project, and if you're interested in area distributive, you can find more information on area.live website. So keep on the way to DEVCON on Mars, and we will try to prepare and doing Mars more comfortable. Thank you.